Hi everyone, welcome to my biggest challenge video. I kind of was having some fun earlier in the semester, kind of wondering if my biggest challenge was going to be my technology issues. I had a number of interesting things, including a brand new laptop that died, and my district shutting off Google Community. But as I started having conversations about what I was learning and what I was doing with the masters, and started looking at some of the pieces of our practicum portfolio, I think the thing that I see as the biggest issue or the biggest challenge going forward from here, especially with what I've learned through the master's program, is the idea that technology in the classroom is not being used the way that is most effective. We've learned about our pedagogical technology combinations and how to analyze whether we're actually integrating technology. And what I've noticed, what others around me have noticed, is that we are using technology, but we're still using it the same way we would have been using non-technology devices. And so what we're finding is students are testing with the technology because that's what the state of California requires, but then teachers aren't using that in any real or new way. They're assigning work on the computer, but they're not assigning it so that it matters. So it's basically replacing a worksheet with a worksheet online or a video instead of reading. And we're not incorporating or integrating the technology so much as we're just simply overlapping what we were already doing. And I think that's one of the reasons why many teachers have not been interested in changing what they're doing, because there's not a real benefit if that's all we're doing is replacing one with the other. And I think too that it kind of invalidates what we've been learning here with our master's program, which is that technology should matter. It should create something new. So if I'm a designer of instruction and I'm supposed to be creating instruction that matters, I'm supposed to be creating something that is innovative and using digital technology so that it's real and it applies to what the students are going to be doing, then I need to be making sure that the assignments that I'm giving somehow connect to the digital literacy that I'm asking them to do, which is part of why I think teaching digital citizenship is a natural offshoot of teaching when we're using technology. I just had a student the other day, as we were working on making their videos for C-SPAN, I had a student ask me about protecting their own rights because at this point they created photography, they have their own photography business, and they wanted to protect their photography ability. So it's kind of one of those pieces, having had that discussion and having emphasized the fact that they need to be observant of people's ownership in a digital world, that student is now taking advantage of that for their own personal use as well. So I think as I looked at the ITSE standards, the 1.5C, where it talked about a designer of instruction so that it mattered, so that it changed relative to what we were doing. And I think one of the best examples for me has been the use of Quizlet Live. I got introduced to both Kahoot and Quizlet years ago. They've been around for a while. They're both online quiz and study items, but Kahoot in particular was always very competitive. And not that I'm against competition, I do use Kahoot in my classroom, but it wasn't building anything new. I could do the same thing with any sort of a game or puzzle, and without adding something new, I didn't just want to automatically jump in. Quizlet had been around for a while, mostly as study sets, vocabulary cards, that kind of thing. And again, I used hard copy sorts. I already used that type of item, so it wasn't a big deal. But when they brought out Quizlet Live about 2.5 years ago, what I realized is it changed how my students were able to interact with the vocabulary. So the way Quizlet Live works is that you create a vocabulary set, and there are answers that go with it. And when students play, they play as a team, and it's usually 3 or 4 members on the team. And they are being given, for example, one definition, and then all the members of the team have 12 different answers. So if you have 4 members, each member has 3 different answers. And so what the teams have to do is they have to compare their answers, and what winds up happening is a discussion as to why one word is a better answer than another. And one of the best examples, I use it in my AP class all the time, and things like tax multiplier and spending multiplier are just relatively random piece. So number one, difficult to remember, but number two, that there's like a one word differentiation between the difference, between the definition of them. And so if I was giving the quiz, a lot of times I can't get them to have the discussion of why this and not that. Why is it the tax multiplier and not the spending multiplier? And what I discovered with Quizlet Live, number one, they enjoyed playing it. That was fun. So that part's good. Number two, they had to talk with each other because only one person has the answer. And they have to discuss when they don't agree. One person says it's this answer, one person says it's this answer. Why is it this over this? The depth of knowledge, when we start talking, DOK levels and all of that in technology and in education, the depth of the discussion was astounding to me. And they were able to have that discussion in a way that was more meaningful because they were creating it as well as solving it. They were learning because when you make a mistake, it sends you all the way back, and then they don't tend to make the mistake next time. And what I discovered too is if I played it multiple rounds, which there's no way I could have done with a paper pencil copy of a quiz, but if I played the game multiple rounds, when they got the word again, I shift the teams, and a lot of times I was hearing, no, I got this wrong last time. I know it's now this. And so having that change, being able to design something that is dependent on technology, that technology adds to the discussion and adds to the learning, that's what all of our lessons should be like. And I know I can't make all of them that way, but I think the fact that I'm aware that that's the goal has changed a lot of what I'm doing. So I see this issue of design as a challenge. I think schools are not aware of it. I think a lot of teachers don't see that. I think that the way we use technology has failed to meet a lot of the needs of technology. And so I think that's one of the things that we face as teachers and educators just in general. Kind of leads me though to my other biggest challenge, and that's more personal for me, and that is that I want to be more of a leader. I want to be able to be that person that I help to create more people who are using technology. I want to be able to model some of the new digital tools that we have. I want to be able to help to share some of the resources that I've got. That is personal for me. I know I've kind of shared with a couple other people as well that I am looking to try to work with new teachers anyway. I've already done that both as a new teacher coach and with our student teachers, but I'd like to expand on that. I think that if we're not training our teachers to think this way, then they're not going to be able to incorporate that. They don't have the time and the energy, and they're not starting off looking for those kinds of things that are going to integrate technology. And so when I start looking at my challenge personally, the ITSE Standard 2C, where we're talking about how do we model and how do we create that leadership piece, really spoke to me. I know one of the biggest pieces is just the ability to look for it. I know there's a lot of backlash right now on technology because there's so many negative things that are coming out. The amount of screen time that kids get, especially at a young age, how much of it is being treated as a social disorder because students are using it to judge their social status, and it causes all kinds of harm like that. And I really firmly believe that the more we teach the kids to use it in a responsible manner, the more it becomes a tool. So I think if we can shift how we see technology, how we see use of technology in a classroom, then a lot of the other issues that we're dealing with may actually wind up being more manageable and something that we can address separately outside of the educational field. And so both as a designer of technology and advancing the innovative digital learning, and then as a leader to try to help not only model but share that knowledge, I see both of those standards in my personal and my professional challenges.